of you, and high school mineral water for the cool in you. African Entrepreneurs Development Program. Africa is one continent that is blessed with all the natural resources. But it looks as if Africa is sometimes described as the dark horse. What is responsible for this? Why is it that Africa cannot harness its resources to generate the needed investment or industries to create jobs and training for its people? In the studio to look at this very important topic is Pastor Wilson Senya, who is the CEO of Africa's Development Entrepreneurs Program. Pastor Wilson Senya, you're welcome to Sandbox.
Thank you very much.
Pastor.
Yes.
And a businessman.
Yes.
That the two sit very well.
It sits extremely well. I think every pastor has a duty, and the calling of a pastor is to purposely equip members of his church. So my business is in giving people knowledge and information. So the knowledge I give to people is to equip them, make them a better people, to develop them. So I think I'm blessed to be doing both, because what I do is to ensure that spiritually you are growing and physically you are growing. So that is why it blends so well.
It blends so well.
Yeah.
Now, I asked this question because I also want to move to the next stage of it. Africa is losing out. We have all the natural resources, but to partner natural resources with human capital, human skills, and then the financial capital to generate the needed resources of revenue to distribute wealth has become a problem. Is it because we don't have enough entrepreneurs or enough business-minded people in Africa?
I think a leader, one of our great leaders, made a statement. He said that the continent is not the problem, it is the people that are the problem. So we have a few business people, entrepreneurs, but I believe we are not growing enough. And entrepreneurs are not just born. We need to nurture them, we need to grow them, we need to create a passion in young people, in everybody, towards that agenda. And I think that is what we are not doing enough as a continent, and that should be the agenda that our leaders will focus on. How can we create the passion in young people, students, graduates, towards entrepreneurship? I think when we begin to do this and focus on it, focus everything, I think focus the arts, focus our educational curriculum, everything on generating entrepreneurs, growing entrepreneurs, then we'll go places. Because if an individual makes it in an enterprise, grows a business, 2 people grow a business, 3 people grow a business, we'll generate businesses, and then we can employ more people into it. I think that is the solution. I think we cannot reinvent the wheel. The Asian tigers consciously grew entrepreneurs. I think if we do that, we also become the next tigers of the world.
The next tigers of the world.
Yeah.
Now, is it very easy? To create this picture, to put this picture you're painting into reality? Because I am asking this question because from 1950s, African countries after African country gained independence. We took control of our own destiny and our own management and our own lives, and we still see our shortfalls and blame the white man for being responsible for it. Is it very easy to paint the picture, to put into reality the picture you're painting?
It's not too easy, I would say. That is why my center focuses on leadership and entrepreneurship. Because we believe that if these two concepts are dealt with, and dealt with very well, then we will make it a little bit easier for us. So it is our the leaders. You talked about from the 50s to now, we've come out of, we've gained independence, become our own leaders, etc. But what kind of leaders do we have? What is the mindset of these leaders? Are they looking at generating entrepreneurs or looking at growing their own people? or their focus is just on attaining wealth for themselves and amassing wealth for themselves and looking at to the white man. So it is with the leadership that we've had over the period. If we can have leaders who be generational thinkers, who be thinking ahead, and who be thinking at the individual people in the nation, how can I change the mindset of my people? How can I grow them? How can I nurture them? How can we develop the capacity of the people of our nation? I think that if we have those kind of leaders, then we'll begin to start to run.
Yeah. Now, let me ask this question. Immediately you start talking, your entity is looking at training, educating. That information is it's very important to everybody. Very important. Now, if we look at the African continent, sometimes there is a school of thought that believes that when you come to Africa or you come to Ghana, for example, the individual is aiming at a certificate, a paper. At the end of the day, I hold 2 master's degrees. I hold this, I hold this, I hold this. When you move to the other part of the world, in education, they gain knowledge. They go for knowledge. And when you have knowledge, you have team players. How do we change the situation of flagging and holding papers and changing it into knowledge and working together as a team?
Number one, we need to change the mindset of everybody. Now, I may not move straight to the educational sector because it begins from the home. Because your mom and your dad have spent a lot of money on you, and they are expecting that immediately you finish the university, you should go look for a job and start earning salary and take care of them. So if we begin to change the mindset of our parents, of the elderly people, and tell them that it is not necessary I'm going to look for a job, then the expectation will begin to reduce. Now we jump straight into educational sector. From the basic to the university, we need to begin to educate people. Let people know that you coming to school, it is not because of a paper. It is because you want to acquire knowledge. And begin to explain to people that the idea and the concept of knowledge is to make you have an edge in life. If you begin to tell people that and inform people that, then if somebody gets an admission to the university, he knows that I'm not going there just to acquire a certificate. I'm going there to acquire knowledge. I'm going there to read. Then the emphasis is on the knowledge acquisition. Then you don't need to even force somebody to go and study. You don't need to beat somebody. Why are you not studying? The emphasis will be on acquiring knowledge. And I always tell people that, look at the word knowledge. Take the word knowledge. Now, if you look at the word knowledge, it comes from 2 major words, know and edge. The letter L is just dividing them. So I tell people that let us put the emphasis on knowledge. Let people know what the word even stands for. That if you know, you have an edge in life. So as we said, when you go to the developed countries, those who know, they have an edge in life. When we begin to change the mindset of our students to that and tell them the story of success people who are successful in their fields and why knowledge acquisition has led them to where they are today, I think we'll begin to do something. I think that's a basic problem. Knowledge acquisition and not paper acquisition.
Now, how do we create team building in our educational institutions? It looks as if we are all individuals. We are all individuals because you get your paper, you are yourself, I am Gabriel, and then you are Wilson, and you want to be seen as a Messiah. You are the person. When you are not there, everything stops. When you come, and then everything starts. So if you are not there, we know it is not going to work. How do we change this mindset to let people know that it is Gabriel, Wilson, David coming together to build an entity and grow it?
Yeah, I think it's going to be from the top. Now, I do not have a big problem with individuals taking charge and knowing that is their focus. I think those are some signs of a great leader. A leader should be able to influence people to follow him. Okay, so I think we should have, in our educational sector and everything, we should have a national agenda and consensus. I think if we do that from the top, from the national, then we know that it can fizzle down to the basic. So everybody knows that this is the focus. This is where we are going. So it will not be like this is what we want to do. This is what this institution wants to do. This is what we are doing. This is our curriculum. No, there should be a national agenda. When we have a national agenda, then groups and individuals can also take a cue from that and have group agendas, all meeting at one point: the development and the growth of our nation Ghana and our continent Africa.
Do you believe that finance or funding is a problem for developing the African continent?
It's a problem. It's a problem everywhere, not just Africa. I think Europe and other parts of the world are also going through a lot of financial crisis. So it's a problem everywhere. But I tell entrepreneurs that in entrepreneurship, funding is not the number one problem. Idea is the number one thing. If you find an idea, you have a good idea, financing will surely come. So there are exercises we do to show entrepreneurs how to source for funding. But funding should not be the number one problem of Africa. A man recently told me that there are several funds. There are people out there who are looking for ideas to fund, but the ideas are not there. So finance and funding is a problem, it's a challenge, but it's not the number one challenge.
How do we develop an individual to creatively create an idea and have a belief in the idea that this is what I want to take the risk to do?
I think number one thing, I always tell people that entrepreneurship is not a subject that is just taught. So you can't just gather students and say that we want to teach you entrepreneurship. Number one, you need to create the passion in the person. Tune the mindset of the person to know that until you discover who you are and follow your talent, your innermost desire, you cannot be at the top. And there's a pyramid I always show to people. There's a pyramid in life, and I tell people that 90% of the world's population is being controlled, paid, and employed by 10% of the world's population. Now, the 10% of this world population are not employees. They are employers, they are entrepreneurs. And the other 90% are clamoring for their money. They are being paid by this 10%. So for you to be at the top, for you to be among this 10%, you need to look at yourself. You need to look at your inner self. You need to look at what you can do for yourself, your talent, your gifting, what you are good at. You need to be entrepreneurial. That is how it must begin. So we need to tune the minds of young people towards a concept of entrepreneurship, looking at opportunities, looking at problems, looking at needs, and finding solutions to them.
How do we get the African to understand to invest in his own African continent? Immediately you are talking to an African entrepreneur, a young entrepreneur. If he has an idea, his first point of call is, can I get a partner from Europe? Can I get a partner from Asia? Can I get a partner? How do we let young, dreaming African entrepreneurs believe in relating to African entrepreneurs?
I think we need to start developing trust in ourselves. And
don't we have trust?
I think we don't trust each other, and it's in every sphere of our lives.
What is responsible for the lack of trust?
I think it's our mindset and where we came from. The challenges we've had over the years as a country and as a continent, how leaders have come, amassed wealth, cheated people, etc. So the trust is not there. So if somebody says, I'm taking you somewhere, you are a little bit scared. If somebody said, I want to partner you for a business. Now, in the developed world, partnership is easy. You see young people partnering to start a business, etc. But here, everybody wants to start a small shop, be the CEO, 100% owner of the company. But that should not be. I think that if we begin to have success stories of partnership in Africa,
is it that we are not telling enough of our success stories? We are not telling
enough of those success stories.
We don't have the success stories.
We have them.
But why are we not telling enough?
We are not telling enough.
You are in the industry.
I think
why are you not telling them?
That is why organizations like ours are important, to go out there tell people the success stories. Now, one of the great things we do is that we bring entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs, onto our platforms. Send them outside, not necessarily in Accra.
Yeah.
Send them to the regions. Let people know that it is possible to be in Ghana and make it in Ghana. So we go out there, and it is possible to stay in your town, in your village somewhere, and still make it in Ghana.
Are you therefore, by this, I can deduce that you are therefore worried that we are talking of graduate unemployment?
I'm so worried because, interestingly, I've one of my mates is one of the executives of the Association of Unemployed Graduates. So it's sad. But I do not really blame them.
Is it because they cannot take the risk? In business, I understand that in business, you can be a very healthy entrepreneur, a businessman. If you can make risk, you can take risk. You're prepared to take them.
Yeah.
And risk, you can, if the floor is very slippery, you can hit your head on the concrete, and then it can be very fatal. So how do we take the risk? I
think where we are today in Africa, unfortunately, it is an individual thing. You have to have that individual passion and desire that I can do this, I can do that, I can take this risk. But I think where we should go is what we should be talking about, is where as a whole entity, as a nation, we should consciously be building that mindset into people, that for you to make it in life, you should take risk. And I was telling you earlier that a period came in US, in the United States, where everything, including the arts, the film industry, was skewed towards changing the mindset of young people into believing in themselves, knowing that they can do it. The I can do it attitude was consciously being implanted into them. I think if the government and institutions can consciously, I'm not saying teach entrepreneurship, but consciously find ways that can change the mindset of young people into knowing that they can do it.
I know that the young would always want to see a sign to move them towards.
Yeah.
What signs can people see to see that the environment is healthy for entrepreneurs?
I think more success stories need to be told. Number two, I think the government or the powers that be need to assist more of our entrepreneurs to make it. I think institutions, the government also need to put more funding available there for entrepreneurs to access. I think when we do this basic three things, we will begin to get more young people daring to move into entrepreneurship.
Are you comfortable with you are a professional, you are in the training of entrepreneurs, are you comfortable with the numbers you're seeing? But can you say that the future is bright for this country?
I'm not too comfortable with that. I think that is why we are trying as much as we can. You know, knowledge acquisition is also not cheap. Yeah. It's a little bit expensive. Yeah, you need to buy the knowledge. But unfortunately for us, we live in a time and an age where everything is fast. Everybody wants fast food, fast everything. Yeah. So even in the concept of acquiring knowledge, everybody wants it fast. Nobody wants to take his time, think, develop themselves. I think we are not too satisfied. We think we should be doing more. We should be doing extra more. And that is why we brought out this project called the African Entrepreneurship Development Program.
It's a pleasure having you on Sunlight. It's great. That is, I'm talking to Pastor Wilson Senya, who is in charge of the African Entrepreneurs Development Program. We'll be talking about Africa's desire. We should develop the desire, the design to really be part of the world of work, create work, and therefore be part. If not so, Africa would remain a dark horse.